The myth of Lilith, Adam's first wife. Lilith is the most enigmatic woman of mythology. Some see her only as evil and rebellious, but for others she represents a symbol of freedom and equality. Let's take a closer look at the story of Lilith. The image of Lilith is reflected in various cultures and religions. In Sumerian mythology, there is a character called Lilitu, who was also associated with night spirits and danger to people. In medieval Europe, Lilith became a symbol of sin and temptation, and was depicted as a woman with long hair and bat-like wings. The Sumerians, one of the first civilizations of the ancient Near East, left a rich legacy of myths and legends that later influenced the development of other cultural traditions in the region. One of the significant images in Sumerian mythology is Lilith, or Lilithu, as she was called in Sumerian. The name Lilith comes from the Sumerian word Lilitu, which literally translates as night bird or night wind. This word is related to the concept of wind, which was considered a spirit or divine entity. In Sumerian mythology, the Lilitu were spirits associated with wind and night phenomena. In Sumerian tradition, Lilith was most often described as a spirit of the night associated with wind and storms. She was considered dangerous and unpredictable, capable of causing illness and misfortune. Lilith was associated with infertility, loss, and destruction. In some texts she is described as a predator, attacking people, especially pregnant women and newborn children. In Sumerian mythology, Lilith was often mentioned along with other spirits and demons, and was the object of special rituals and spells. People used amulets and magic formulas to protect themselves from her influence. Mothers wore special amulets to protect their children from Lilith. There were also special rituals to exorcise spirits to prevent their negative effects. The Sumerian tradition had a significant influence on the development of the image of Lilith in other cultures, including Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian. This image was later adapted and developed in Jewish mythology, where Lilith became known as Adam's first wife who caused many problems and left Eden. The story of Lilith is one of the most enigmatic and controversial legends associated with ancient Jewish lore. Unlike the well-known story of Adam and Eve, which tells of the creation of the first woman from Adam's rib, the myth of Lilith, although not part of the Old Testament canon, is nevertheless deeply rooted in Jewish culture and mysticism. The legend of Lilith originates in ancient Jewish texts such as the Talmud and the Kabbalah. It is most fully explored in the Book of the Zohar, one of the key sources of Kabbalistic wisdom. According to this text, Lilith was created by God at the same time as Adam from the earth, not from his rib like Eve. This makes Lilith the first woman created by God and therefore Adam's first wife, preceding Eve. Although this myth is not included in the canonical text of the Bible, it spread through oral tradition and various mystical tracts, becoming an integral part of the Jewish cultural tradition. These sources give the image of Lilith a special significance and mystery. The conflict between Lilith and Adam arises immediately after their time together in Eden. Lilith categorically rejects the idea of subordination to Adam, claiming that they are equal, since they were both created from the same material, the earth. The issue of intimate relations becomes particularly acute. Lilith demands equality in intimate life, while Adam insists on his dominance. This dispute leads to serious tension in their relationship. The conflict culminates when Lilith utters the name of God, which was considered sacred and of great power. The use of this name allows Lilith to leave the confines of the Garden of Eden, thus freeing herself from Adam's control and God's influence. This act symbolizes her desire for freedom and independence, which stands in stark contrast to the submission and obedience expected of a woman in a patriarchal society. Thus, the myth of Lilith offers an alternative version of the creation of humanity, emphasizing the importance of issues of equality and freedom of choice. Although Lilith is often presented as a negative character associated with dark forces, her image can also be seen as a symbol of resistance to patriarchal norms and the desire for personal autonomy. The pronunciation of the name of God did play a key role in the myth of Lilith. In Jewish tradition, it is believed that knowing the true name of God gives a person incredible power over the world. Some sources even indicate that this name has magical power to alter reality. Therefore, when Lilith spoke this name, she was given the ability to leave the Garden of Eden and go to another world. Using the power of God's name, Lilith was able to leave her physical body and travel to the spiritual world. This gave her the ability to travel freely between worlds, making her virtually invulnerable to any attempts to bring her back to Eden. In this way, Lilith gained an independence and freedom unavailable to other creatures. After leaving Eden, Lilith found herself in the desert, where she was transformed into a demon. In the Kabbalistic tradition, Lilith is transformed into an evil entity known as the Mother of Demons or Queen of Demons. According to some sources, she allied with Samhael, identified with Satan or other evil forces, which finalized her status as a dangerous being. Lilith became the embodiment of evil and destruction, terrifying people with her ability to bring disaster. In myths and legends, Lilith is described as a night spirit who preys on pregnant women and newborn children. She was thought to cause sudden death of babies and miscarriages in women. She was also a danger to men, being a night spirit that seduced them in their sleep and led them to sin. The image of Lilith became a symbol of evil and fear of the unknown. Upon learning that Lilith refused to return to Eden, God decided to send 3 angels, Sainoi, Sansanoi, and Samanjaloth, to convince her to change her mind. They went in search of Lilith and found her on the shores of the Red Sea. Offering her the choice of either returning to Eden and living with Adam or dying, the angels hoped she would agree to return. However, Lilith refused to return, stating that her new role was to harm humans. In response, the angels made a pact with her: 100 babies would die at her hands every day, but those children protected by amulets bearing the names of these angels would remain unharmed. This treaty symbolized a compromise between good and evil, showing that even the most dangerous forces can be limited by certain conditions. The pact with the angels was an important part of the Lilith myth. It emphasizes that even evil can be limited and controlled if the right defenses are used. Amulets with the names of angels have become a symbol of hope and protection from dark forces, providing safety to those who believe in their power. According to the Book of the Zohar, after Lilith left the Garden of Eden, she met Samhael, sometimes referred to as the angel of death or the fallen angel. Samhael, being one of the higher spiritual beings, had great power and influence. The meeting between Lilith and Samhael resulted in a union that had far-reaching consequences. The union of Lilith and Samhael symbolizes the union of 2 opposites, the light beginning, Adam and Eve, and the dark beginning, Lilith and Samhael. This union spawned an army of demons that came to be known as Lithithim, literally husks. These demons are considered lower spirits, dwelling in the lower realms of the spirit world. Lilith, by becoming the wife of Samhael, became the mother of all demons. In the Kabbalistic tradition, demons are seen as forces that hinder the spiritual development of man and distract him from the path to God. Lilith, as the mother of demons, represents the dark side of female energy, which seeks to destroy harmony and order. According to the treatise on the left, emanation from the connection of Lilith and Samhael is born a blind dragon, which symbolizes destruction and chaos. This dragon is the embodiment of the dark forces that seek to destroy harmony and order in the world. He is described as blind because he sees no path to light and truth, following only his instincts and desires. The dragon is castrated so that the eggs of the viper, Echidna, will not hatch into the world. The eggs that would hatch from the dragon are the greatest threat to the world, as from them emerge the Lilin, demons covered in hair entirely except for just their heads. Lilin are extremely dangerous, as they seek to wreak destruction and chaos everywhere they go. Thus, the myth of Lilith shows how the desire for freedom and independence can lead to tragic consequences, but also demonstrates that even in the darkest of situations it is possible to find balance and protection. Lilith has a special place in Mesopotamian tradition and differs from the image known in Jewish folklore. In ancient Mesopotamia there were several mythological beings associated with the name Lilith or similar to her in characteristics. The name Lilith comes from the Akkadian word Lilu, which means night wind or spirit. In Sumero-Akkadian mythology, Lilu were spirits associated with wind and night phenomena. The female being corresponding to Lilith was called Lilithu or Ardatalili. Ardatalili, Ardalili, was a female spirit that was associated with love affairs and sexuality. She was considered a dangerous being capable of causing madness and disease in men. Ardatalili was often depicted as a young, beautiful woman who could seduce men and lead them to their deaths. Another being associated with Lilith is Lamashtu. Lamashtu was a female demon who attacked pregnant women and newborn babies. She also kidnapped children and brought disease. Lamashtu was depicted as a fearsome creature with a lion's head, clawed paws, and bird feet. Despite the differences in descriptions and functions, Lilith, Ardata Lily, and Lamashtu have common features. They are all associated with nocturnal phenomena, danger to humans, especially women and children, and have supernatural powers. These images reflect the fear of the unknown and inexplicable, as well as the desire to explain natural and social disasters through mythology. In Mesopotamian culture, Lilith and beings like her played an important role in ritual and magic. People used amulets and spells to protect themselves from these spirits. In particular, Lilith was considered dangerous to newborns and young mothers, so special amulets and rituals were used to prevent her influence. The Mesopotamian tradition had a significant influence on the development of the image of Lilith in other cultures, including the Jewish one. The Jewish myth of Lilith probably borrowed some elements from Mesopotamian mythology, adapting them to its own religious and cultural ideas. In modern times, the image of Lilith has undergone significant changes and has become a symbol of female independence and strength. Her refusal to submit to a man is seen as a symbol of the struggle for equality of the sexes. Lilith becomes an example of a woman who is not afraid to go against the system and stand up for her rights. This image resonates with contemporary women's rights advocates and activists seeking to change traditional gender roles. Some researchers believe that the myth of Lilith was created by men to justify patriarchal norms and to demonstrate that women's disobedience can lead to disastrous consequences. Lilith is seen as an image of a strong and independent woman who is not afraid to challenge the existing order and stand up for her beliefs. The archetype of Lilith embodies the idea of female strength and independence. She represents a woman who is not ready to meekly follow established rules and traditions. Lilith challenges the patriarchal system, demonstrating her willingness to fight for her rights and freedom. This archetype has become especially relevant in modern society, where issues of gender equality and female emancipation are at the forefront. The image of Lilith inspires many writers, poets, and artists to create works of art. For example, John Milton's poem Paradise Lost mentions Lilith as the demon who seduces Adam. In Anita Diamant's novel The Red Tent, Lilith is presented as a protector of women and children, helping them cope with hardship. These works show how the image of Lilith can be interpreted in different contexts and how it continues to influence contemporary art and literature. Thus, the image of Lilith has come a long way from ancient myth to a modern symbol of female independence and strength. Its diversity and universality demonstrate the importance of the theme of equality and freedom in human society. The myth of Lilith is indeed a complex and multi-layered narrative that touches on many aspects of human nature and social interactions. This myth is a prime example of how ancient lore can reflect the social and cultural values of its time, as well as provide inspiration for generations to come. The story of Lilith is closely tied to issues of power, equality, and freedom. It raises important questions about the role of women in society, about rights and responsibilities, and about how people perceive and react to those who step outside of established norms. Lilith becomes a symbol of rebellion against the patriarchal order, demonstrating that the pursuit of freedom and independence can have serious consequences. The myth of Lilith is not just an interesting story, but a powerful tool for thinking about important aspects of human life. It reminds us of the importance of freedom of choice, responsibility for our actions, and the need to respect the rights and freedoms of others. Lilith remains one of the most mysterious and attractive characters of world mythology, continuing to inspire and surprise us with its mysteries and depths, serving as a source of inspiration for new creative ideas.